What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? It is Lawrence Henderson back once again. It's a Boston Friends. It's a Boston Friends on this Wednesday, y'all. Man, I tell you, like the you'll see the words in the comments of what this is going to be all about. But I tell you what, I got 5 older sisters. Y'all don't know if y'all knew that about me. That's why I'm a little crazy, a little off kilter. But the good Lord saw fit to forgive me a younger brother and shout out happy birthday to my little bro. But I've been gifted with the opportunity to be introduced to some amazing men in my life. And I, whether they, have the same affinity for me, I call them big bros. But somebody that's special that I'm so glad to be introduced to, y'all, I got Mr. Mark Lewis. What's up, sir?
What's up, Lawrence? Hey, man, happy to be here. Pleasure being here and a privilege to be here. Definitely glad to get a chance to get on your show.
Yeah, man. Well, I tell you what I wanted to create with this platform of Boston Friends is I didn't want people to think that all this awesomeness happened all in a vacuum, all by myself. And I wanted to introduce them to people that helped me get to this, all this hydrated skin and all the rest of those things you see today.
You lost me at awesomeness.
So, y'all, as you can see, I cut up this young man here. This is a joint forces kind of day. He is my not only a brother from another, but he's a brother in arms. Air Force in the house. Air Force.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You could tell by the skin.
So when we talk about awesomeness, that's going to be on my side of the screen. And when we talk about extreme mediocrity, that's going to be on your side of the screen.
Oh man, y'all see what I'm introducing y'all to, right? Early already in the session. So Mark, real quick, man, I just want people to be introduced to you and what you're doing in the world, and then we'll kind of get into some meat and potatoes of things. So Mark, who are you? Where are you at in the world, and what you do?
Yeah, thanks, Lawrence. So Mark Lewis. So currently, professionally, I'm the senior director for learning and talent management for Delic U.S. Holdings. So we're an oil and gas company based in Brentwood, Tennessee. Primarily, our operations are in Texas, and then we've got retail stores over in our Arizona and New Mexico, not Arizona, sorry, just New Mexico. And then we've got some refineries scattered around Arkansas, Louisiana, and Texas. So I've been in that role actually a year now, and it's been an awesome experience, getting out to build out what we'll call a corporate learning strategy, but then also tapping into the talent management space and really getting an opportunity to build out what a best in class talent management function looks like, but then also how do we really build a better learning culture for our organization.
Yeah, man. So you just threw all kind of business superlatives and words and adjectives out there. What is it that you really do, right? Like those, that's the jargon. But when you get into it, what is it that you really do, Mark?
So think about me as the trainer in the gym. So you go to the gym because what? You want to get stronger, you want to get better, you want to be quicker, whatever improvements you personally want to make, that's why you go to the gym. I'm the same thing on the business side. So when I think about what our employees need to be able to do better, I'm the trainer in the gym that's giving them all the tools they need to be better.
Yeah. See, I knew it. I knew it. We in here working it out already. And when you think about, right, because you got some veterans that'll be watching, you got some folks that may be in any stage of transition. When you transitioned out back in 2015, what made this the thing, this direction for your life and your career? What made this the thing?
So you know what? It wasn't necessarily how did I get into it? It was just more of being prepared when the right opportunity presented itself. And, for any veterans that may be listening, what I'll tell them is, it's all about your network. And when you get to positions at this level, it's all about who you know. And so I was fortunate enough that here in San Antonio, I had, met a couple of people in the corporate sector. And for some strange reason, they remembered me. And then when they were looking to do a better job of attracting and recruiting veterans, they were like, hey, do you mind if we talk to you and pick your brain since you're active duty? And I was like, absolutely. So just through a random lunch with them, that led to an opportunity in learning and development. And they were like, hey, are you interested in retiring? Or are you interested in doing training? And I was like, I don't even know what it is, but yes, anything to do in the corporate world. And then once I fell into it, I loved it. I mean, it just really intersected with my passion and my purpose.
And I love those intersections, right? Because you get a lot of us, and I'll tell on myself, Mark. I didn't have that story, man. That sounds like some old rainbows, unicorns, stars aligning, and all this other stuff. Like I was, man, I got fed that pump juice that said people gonna be lined up waiting for you, and I'm like, where they at? Like 9 months later, crickets, and I'm like, in a lot of veterans, I found myself in that space, man, where I was doing the circuit of job fairs of these and handing my resumes, printing my
Right.
resumes. Oh, we don't do that no more. Did you sign up on our website? Like, and there's this lull. But when you said, kind of that intersection and aligning with your purpose, what was it that you locked in on as a purpose for you in this next stage of life?
So when I went back in, and this is the same thing I tell all veterans, when you think about your military career, there's going to be things that you absolutely loved in your career, and then there are going to be those things that you absolutely hated. And the better you can identify what are those jobs that you had that you really liked and really dig into those jobs and understand what about those jobs made you like it, then that's where you really figure out your true purpose and your passion. And so if you can find jobs that really play to those things that you liked, that's how you set yourself up for success on the corporate side. So for me, I really didn't know anything about training, corporate training. I had never been at a schoolhouse in the military, so I was never an instructor. But what I did have in my toolkit was I worked and did a lot of supportive exercises. And so exercises to the military is really training, right? Because we are training for war, we are training for combat. And so when I joined the corporate training world, that's when I realized that, oh yeah, I did this in the military. Now it's not necessarily preparing, men and women to fight combat. Now it's about preparing men and women to accomplish whatever the strategies and the goals of the organization are. So for me, it was just something I landed in.
And I love that, right? Because I landed in some I wasn't
Did you
overly
land, or was it like
fond
a,
of.
a hard landing?
It was something I landed and tried to make it work.
Okay.
And I can actually say that there was frustration built up by me because I was trying to make something work for the sake of a check.
Right.
Right. And thinking like I literally forced myself into a first level Maslow's hierarchy of need. Like this is like you got to do this because you're a provider and all these other things. When you coach people, just leaders in general, as it pertains to taking a step, taking even just one movement towards purpose, what's something that you tell people to lock in on?
Well, I think the biggest thing is understanding your strengths and then having the ability to actually go back through your life, whether that's professionally or personally, and find out those things that you're good at. I mean, find out those things that really bring you joy, because that is really your true purpose. The other thing about learning and development that really aligns with my purpose is I love to build high performing teams and I love to develop people. And so now I'm getting the opportunity in the last couple of organizations that I've been in is to build a high performing team. And then most importantly, develop the people on that team and then develop the employees in the organization. So for me, that's a home run. I mean, granted, I do like my paycheck, don't take it wrong, but in some cases I would almost do that for free just because I get so much intrinsic value and joy out of doing that.
See, you just made my TEDx blow up right there. You just made my TEDx blow up right there. Because it was, I'm telling you, that was the catalyst for me. Like that was the shift when I gave myself permission to say or ask the question and answer it of what would I do? And I didn't get paid for it, but I would do it anyway. Like,
Exactly.
what's that thing? And because again, like you said, having a personal mission statement, regardless of where you're coming from, I believe that's the start of pushing you towards alignment in your life and purpose. Because it wasn't until I gave myself permission, but then I actually sat down and said, what do I want to be doing? Even if I
Exactly.
got paid or not. And then when I got clear around that, beginning to create intentions to go after education, to go after certifications, to go after community, to help support what I believed I was supposed to be doing. And so that, and I think the biggest thing that's happened in this shift of life, particularly in entrepreneurship for me, was being introduced to you and the group of gentlemen that Kevin Yates has coordinated this Justice League of learning and
The
development
Avengers.
professionals. Uh, and how important is it for you to have a solid community as you grow in what you're doing?
Oh, community is everything. But before we get to that, let me go back just a couple of steps. So, going back to that military transition, the thing that a lot of men and women who, are separating, what they realize is that, or what they don't realize actually, is that they've been institutionalized, because for the last 4, 6, 10, 20 plus years, somebody has told them what they're going to do, somebody has told them where they're going to do it, and somebody's told them what they need to wear to do that, right? So what uniform you're going to wear, where you're going to do it, and then what that job's going to be. And then when it's time for you to rotate to the next assignment, guess what? Here's where you're going, here's what you're going to wear, and here's where you're going to do it. And so when you get to that point where it's like, oh wow, I can no longer wear the uniform, it's time for me to do something different and go to that next chapter in my life, you don't know what to do because you've never thought for yourself. So it's like you're fresh out, right? You've been in jail for the last 5, 10 years, and all of a sudden somebody's like, patting you on the backside and saying, go be free. And you don't know what that means. You're like, be free. Somebody's been telling me what to do for the last 20 years. So going back to, community, that's where community is everything. And so if your community is just military people, then unfortunately you're not getting a bigger perspective as to what's out there. So the thing that I really appreciate about this community is that we are all in different industries, we're all doing different things, and we all have different perspective. And so being able to have that community of like-minded professionals where we can bounce ideas off of each other, where we can mentor each other and help each other's out with different programs or projects or initiatives that we're doing personally and professionally. I mean, you need that because none of us knows everything. And so having that well-balanced community of people that can nurture, promote, push, motivate is essential for success.
And I think the biggest thing that I found in true community was no ego.
Oh, absolutely.
Like just the fact that how we the lead in of cracking jokes, like it's one of those things. Like you got to be able to have fun. And my thing is, it comes in with that air of if it's community, assume the best, right?
Absolutely.
And if something does prick you, something does hurt you, like we go inward first, but then we verbalize and say, "Hey, y'all, this is something I'm working on. I need some help." Right? Because we the closest people to us say certain things that we may not like too much. I know early on, my wife used to say stuff to me, and I was like, "Whatever, you just being sensitive." But I got around some other community members, and it's crazy. One of my mentors early on as I transitioned out, Rock Anderson. We've been able to connect, it was something he said to me early, man. After transition, I was a year out. And I tell you, I got my feelings after he shared something with me, bro. He said, "You know what, Lawrence, I'm gonna give you something." Somebody told me once upon a time. He said, "I can still see you're kind of intense. You need to smile more." And instead of getting curious and actually smiling about the question, I reinforced his comment by instantly getting an attitude in the back of my mind, like, "What you mean I need to smile?" And it's stuff like it's the little things that I believe community helps us, the nuances of life. And y'all, if y'all don't have a good community around you, get some folks you could laugh with, but some folks, like you said, iron sharpens iron.
Oh
and
yeah.
and so you can't be a knife in a group of loaves of bread. Like you can't like
Yeah.
sharp cutting bread. So get around some folks that you can actually get sharp with. And when it comes to what's the best piece of advice over the last almost 6 years that you've got that really helped you like kind of skyrocket and mature into where you are today?
Oh man, you're gonna put me on the spot. Best piece of advice. Well, shoot, there's been so much. One of the biggest things that I didn't understand on the corporate side of the house was just probably the importance of brand. And we don't necessarily understand that in the military because we have a brand, right? We've got our reputation, but on the outside, brand is critical because these other companies are looking to see what you're doing in the space. And when you start thinking about, presenting at conferences, when you start thinking about, all the things that we do outside of work, in addition to all those things that we do inside of work, your brand is critical. And so having a very positive brand, but then also having brand recognition. The other thing that I think was probably a really good piece of advice for me is, really, when we come to work, we're interviewing every day for our job. And so being my best self at work every day and understanding that at all times there's eyes on me, whether that's my leadership, whether that's peers, and most importantly, the people that work for me. They're always looking, they're always evaluating, and they're always seeing, what I'm doing on a daily basis.
You know what? That comment you just made about when you show up, you are constantly being interviewed, you're constantly being evaluated, you're constantly being assessed. Like that was one for me, that getting a hold of just what that meant, right? Because when you hear brand, people try to pontificate and they get real cute with these words, but just breaking that down of understanding. And again, in the military, we got, as O's, as officers, like we knew there were certain things, like there were certain, soldier clubs we wasn't really supposed to go to, even though that's where the soldiers had the most fun. The enlisted, like they had the most fun. And like, but you can't go. Like as much as you want to have fun, you can't go. And I think some of us kind of put that on the shelf when we get to this side of life, or people in transition, like, oh, it ain't that serious. Well, if you're desiring to be an executive, you have to know that party night that you might not want to take pictures. And unless you're prepared for the backlash or the hit that your brand is potentially going to take. And so I think that was the biggest part for me. And just the understanding of language, right? Of how
Absolutely.
people are actually experiencing you. But I want you to, and you talk about evaluation, and we always talk about impact, and how do you evaluate impact? How does someone begin to collect data on themselves within an organization?
How do you collect data on yourself? Well, the formal way, is, 360 assessments, right? So we can do a formal 360 assessment. I think the informal way is to ask, and to be a little bit more precise about asking, ask and then shut up and listen. And I think so often in that case, with you and your mentor, he was like, you're intense and you're not listening to, understand, you're listening to respond, right? And so I think what you really need to do is you need to listen, and you can't be defensive to that, because we all have blind spots. We all of us have blind spots. And so being able to listen, being committed to actually improve upon those blind spots, and then most importantly, thanking people for pointing that out. Because if you can thank people and people see that you're sincere and you're honest, they're not going to be reluctant to give you that feedback the next time. So I think those are a couple of things. And then real quick, just going back to what you were talking about brand, one of the things I always mentor my people on is really the keys to success in life, and in your professional life, really boils down to what I'll call, these three pillars. And that's your image, that's your exposure, and that's your performance. So you constantly have to manage all three of those things. And if you have, two of those things, but you don't have the third thing, it's like that three-legged stool, it's going to fall. So you got to perform, you got to have the right image, and most importantly, you got to have the right exposure. Having the right performance doesn't matter if you got a bad image and the CEO and the big boss doesn't see you, right? Getting a lot of exposure doesn't matter if you're not performing, you got the wrong image. And you can be the poster child for the organization, but if you're not performing and once again you're not getting exposed, guess what? It doesn't matter. So that's why it's critical that you have all three of those components in order to be successful.
See, y'all get nuggets, man. Yeah, I'm telling you, that's why I got friends, y'all. I told you I wasn't lying. I actually got people that like me, and we
Hold
want to
on,
talk.
don't go so far. You have people that tolerate you. We're not at the like stage yet.
Y'all, thank you for showing up today to this episode of Boston Friends that we're going to cut short. See, y'all, like this is what I'm talking about, right? We could be amazing professionals. We jump into some good banter, and then Air Force dude got to mess it up. So, Mark, when you think about the next several years for you, right? Like, is stay in corporate or entrepreneurship or both, or what does life look like for you over the next several years?
You know, I've been very fortunate that every opportunity I've ever had, both militarily as well as corporate, has just fallen into my lap, right? It's like I wasn't looking and, somebody tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hey, you want to do this?" And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds fun. I'll do that." So for me, my corporate goals is I would definitely love to be a chief learning officer for an organization. To me, that is, really my ultimate dream job. That's what I've, gone to school for. That's what I'm trying to, develop myself for. That's my ultimate career goal. However, I'm very open to consulting too, because I recognize that there's a lot of small businesses out there that can't afford to have their own large talent management teams. And so getting an opportunity to partner with smaller businesses where you can see that immediate impact and that immediate result, that's something that excites me as well. And then when I think about like-minded professionals like you, me, the rest of the crew with Kevin, there could be some future opportunities where we all collaborate together as well, because each one of us, I think, brings a particular strength to that entire capability of that group.
Yeah, you already threw it out there. I was gonna see if you made it back around to the Justice League. And so what I like to tell people, and let's keep it 100, man. In the way business in this last year, what it showed everybody is they organizations who desire to be lean but do it well saw there maybe not a use for keeping something internally and actually outsourcing some things. And I know for you, I don't know what the trends you're seeing in the learning development world, but the folks I'm running with, it's turning more and more into the gig market,
Yeah.
where they're outsourcing. But here's the crazy part, but they're spending the money.
Yeah.
The craziest thing. And why do you think that is, where it's turning, or it's kind of this balance of, do we want to put internal budget against it, or we'll set budget aside to do it well with an outside consultant?
So this is the conundrum. And, just me, Mark Lewis talking, I think there's a couple different things. I think one, a lot of corporations, a lot of senior leaders don't see the value that their learning and development teams actually bring to the table, right? And then the second thing I think is there's that natural instinct that external consultants are smarter than my internal consultants. And it doesn't matter if I'm saying the same thing, because we paid this high price consultant to come in and tell my leaders the exact same thing. They're going to go, "Mark, we should be doing what, that gentleman is saying." And it's like, dude, I've been telling you that for the last 12 months. And so I think fixing the internal paradigm, right? How do we demonstrate the impact that we as learning professionals are actually making to the organizations? And then the second thing is, building that reputable brand, building that, internal consultant image so that people see that, hey, maybe it's more cost effective for me to do that internally.
And you just hit on something there, man, because I've been on both sides of the argument, right? I've been on, but like,
I know what side of the argument you like.
yeah. And I will say I signed up for even parts of it that I didn't. Just to get to that last part you just said, right? It's how are you seeing me?
Right.
Like, and how are you seeing my value? And it's crazy how, like you said, for certain things, we're going to stay in, we're going to keep that in house because, again, we have a certain way of doing things. But then there's this thing that, know what, we're going to outsource that, or we're going to get a second opinion from outside the house to come in and tell us that our stuff stinks. Even though we got like dead bodies in the corner, and it's not that, it's clearly not the bodies in the corner. But it's one of those things of just defining, and it goes back to impact. And as a last thing, like, that's a huge thing, right? And we talk about that in our crew of professionals. But what is it? Where's the disconnect between the impact part of it and just doing things for the sake of doing things? Like, what's been that epic battle happening?
At least in my experience, that battle is really driven by the people who are requesting these training solutions. And they're not coming to, L&D professionals with business challenges, right? They're not coming saying, "Hey, I need to reduce turnover," or, "Hey, I need to improve my leadership," or, "Hey, we need to improve sales." They're coming to L&D folks and saying, "Hey, I need a training on, suggestive selling," right? And so if you're automatically jumping to training solutions, you may or may not be fixing the problem. So for me, it's all about, hey, well, before we start talking about solutions, let's talk about the problem. And let's get some real clear understanding of what is the problem that we're trying to solve. Because guess what? Once I truly understand the problem and we understand the root cause of that problem, we'll be in a much better space to give you the right solution to that problem. And so if I'm giving you the right solution to the problem, I should fix the problem. And therefore, we should see the impact that we're actually trying to achieve.
Man, I tell you what, man, you need to put that on the back of a Wheaties box.
Well,
Oh,
let me say that a different way, right? Let me give you a different analogy.
I
So
got you.
if I'm a doctor, right, and
Here we
you
go.
come to me one morning and you say, "Hey, Mark, I woke up and my side was hurting, so I need you to give me an appendicitis." Now, is that really what you want me to do? Is just go ahead and give you an appendicitis, or do you want me to, excuse me, appendectomy, or do you want me to actually say, "Hey, well, let's run some tests first, Lawrence, and let's see what's going on with you"? Because guess what? Maybe we don't need to do surgery. Maybe I just need to give you some Pepsid and send you on your way. Maybe it's just a bad case of acid indigestion. So that's what I mean. I could give you an appendectomy, but it's not going to fix your problem. So let's fix the problem.
There we go. I love it. And then again, it's evaluating. People give you the symptoms, and it's that whole thing putting that band-aid over a bullet wound, and you're actually not taking and addressing the thing that's actually hurting and harming the organization. Uh,
Exactly.
and so, Mark, I appreciate you, man. Like again, like more than you know. Like there's a level of banter and professionalism, and somehow, some way, man, you've been able to master them both. And so I'm appreciative that one, you held some time in your busy schedule. But I'm glad that you exist in the world of learning and development. And I learned so much when I'm with you gentlemen, as we get to just exchange knowledge, exchange tips and techniques. And the one call I will give you a shout out for is, let me tell y'all, when you call Mark and you call Kevin and you call these gentlemen and you ask them to support you in your journey, and to get to the thing, make sure you're prepared. Make sure you're prepared with knowledge and information, and have a notepad ready. Because I tell you, in 5 minutes, I totally knew that I was not prepared to have this conversation with Mark about to support me in this contract that I was about to try to put my name in that for. And but what it did was I went back to the drawing board and I actually got to what it was that the organization needed and what they were desiring support in. But it happened because I got rid of my ego, and I was reached out to somebody who I valued their leadership, I valued their expertise, and I came within a listening ear. And again, that's one of the reason why I created this was so y'all could be introduced to people like Mark Lewis. So Mark, any last words before you give people how they can connect with you on LinkedIn and cross social media?
Yeah, I'm going to defer to you on the platform and how to get connected to me on LinkedIn.
Ah, ah, ah.
But hey, it has been a pleasure. As I talked about early on, really my purpose and my passion is on all things developing and, making people better and helping people out. And then I've got a lot of pride in the learning and development community and for professionals. And so for me, it's like, hey, we need to change the conversation around learning. The better we all are, the better we can change the paradigm around training and learning. And so anytime I have an opportunity to talk to folks, it's truly a pleasure. And I get, really energized from that. So I appreciate the opportunity. Lawrence, I love you like a brother, man, a distant cousin. We'll figure that one out later. But hey, I enjoyed this and happy to come back and talk to your audience anytime.
Yes, sir. Well, again, I've posted and tagged Mark in almost everything over the last 30 minutes. So y'all connect with Mark across LinkedIn. It's Mark Lewis. He may look, you may have to click on the actual profile because he's a little brighter on his profile picture. So he did a glamour shots photo, y'all. He did a glamour shots photo.
And you look a little slimmer on yours. Let me just go ahead and say that out there. that quarantine 10.
It's the angles for me.
You must have it on black. It was very slimming, black with stripes.
Oh man, y'all see what I'm talking about. Well, y'all, thank y'all again for those who watched live and those who are going to watch the replay. connect with Mark. Some good laughter, with some good banter, and thank you so much for availing yourself to the Boston Friends, man. This is just another platform for all of us to make sure we're amplifying voice. So until next time, folks, be well, get your vaccinations, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, Lawrence. Pleasure.
Got you, bud.